m again, the slope, is the number in front of x. If there's no number in front of x, we can always put a 1. So m would equal 1. And b is the last number, which is a 3. It has a minus in front of it. B would be a negative 3. So m equals 1 and b equals negative 3. And last question for the section. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. And again, we can find m, the slope, and b, which is the y-intercept. M is the number in front of x, which would be negative 2/3. And b is the last number, which is 1. So m, negative 2/3, and b equals 1. Title of the last section today is Write an Equation using slope and y-intercept. In this section, we'll take the slope and y-intercept and write an equation. And again, the definition or equation is y equals mx plus b. First problem, m equals 2 and b equals 1. Given the slope, which is m, and b, which is the y-intercept, we can take these numbers, plug them in, and write an equation in y equals mx plus b form. Y equals, instead of m, we'll put the number 2. We'll have 2x, and instead of plus b, we'll have plus 1. So the equation, y equals 2x plus 1. Second problem, m equals 4/3, or 4/3, and b equals negative 3. Again, to write the equation, we have y equals mx, but instead of m, we'll put 4/3, and plus b. If b is a minus 3, we can subtract 3. So the equation would be y equals 4/3 x minus 3. And last question for the section, m equals 0, and b equals 4. So we have y equals, put a 0 for the m, we have 0x, and plus 4. Simplifying this, y equals 0x would be 0, adding 4 would just be 4, so the equation would just be y equals 4. Title of the first section today is Review, Write an Equation. In this section, we'll review how to write an equation. The equation again, or formula for this chapter, y equals mx plus b. M again is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. First problem, m equals -1/5, and b equals 2. Writing the equation, y equals mx, we'll put a -1/5 in for x, and we'll plug a 2 in for b. So the equation will be y equals -1/5 x plus 2. Second problem, m equals 0.7 and b equals -0.5. Writing the equation y equals, plug a 0.7 in for m, we'll have 0.7x, and instead of plus b, if b is negative, we could have minus 0.5. So the equation is y equals 0.7x minus 0.5. And last problem for the section, m equals 0 and b equals -3. The equation y equals, plug a 0 for m, we'll have 0x, and b is a -3. So have y equals 0x minus 3. Simplifying, 0 times x would be 0, and -3 would just be -3. So the equation y equals -3. Title of the next section is Write an Equation from a Line. In this section, we'll look at a graph of a line, and we can find the equation from that line. First problem and first graph. We'll have one point at 0, -2, and we'll have another point at 2, 1. Using this graph, we can find what m equals and b equals, and then we can write the equation from there. We can find m, and we can also find b. If you remember, m is the slope. When looking at a graph, you can find the slope by counting the rise over run. Starting at the left point, we'll go up 1, 2, 3 spots. So the rise would be 3, and the run will be 1, 2 spots to the right. So our slope, or m, equals 3 over 2. B, if you remember, is the y-intercept. The y-axis is the axis that goes up and down or vertical in the middle. The intercept is the point at which it crosses the y-axis. This point is at y equals -2, so the y-intercept would be -2. Once we have m equals and b equals, we can write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. M is 3 over 2, x, and instead of plus b, b is a -2, so we'll have -2. So the equation of this line is y equals 3 over 2x minus 2. Second question, and last question for the section. Again, we'll have 2 points. The first point is at 0, 3, and the second point is at 2, -1. This line again, we can find what m equals and b equals, and then write the equation from there. M equals and b equals. M again is the slope, start at the left-hand side of the graph. This time we'll count down and over, which will be a negative number. Counting the rise, or how many spots down, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 spots down, which will be a negative 4. And the run will be 1, 2 spots to the right, so we'll have negative 4 over 2, which if you divide that out would equal negative 2. So the slope, or m, is negative 2. B again, the y-intercept. Looking at the y-axis, the graph crosses at positive 3, so the b equals 3, or the y-intercept is 3. And for answer, we'll write an equation in y equals mx plus b form. M is negative 2, so I have negative 2x. B is a positive 3, so our final answer will have y equals negative 2x plus 3. Title of the first section is Determine. If a point lies on the graph. In this section, we'll take a point and see if it lies on the graph or is a solution to an equation. First problem and first point is negative 3, 4, and the equation y equals negative 2x plus 1. Using this point, we can determine if this point lies on the graph or is a solution for the equation. To solve this, we'll take the point and plug it in for x and y and see if the equation is true. If you remember, all points are always x, y. So we'll take the negative 3, plug that in for x, and also take the 4 and plug that in for y. So instead of y, we'll put a 4 equals negative 2 times x, but instead of x, we'll put negative 3 and plus 1. Solving the equation, 4 equals negative 2 times a negative 3 would be 6, and plus 1. 4 equals 6 plus 1 would be 7. 4 does not equal 7, so the question is if this point lies on the line, and the answer would be no, because 4 does not equal 7. Second question and last question for the section. We'll have 2, 5 as the point, and y equals 3x minus 1 as the equation. Solving again, we'll have the point, which is x, y, so we can replace x with the number 2 and y with the number 5. So we'll have 5 equals 3 times x, or 3 times 2, minus 1. Keep in mind to always follow PEMDAS. We'll multiply first before we subtract. So 5 equals 3 times 2 would be 6, minus 1. 5 equals 6 minus 1 is 5. So we have 5 equals 5, which is true. When plugging a point in, if you have 2 equal numbers, the question is if this point lies on the line, and the answer would be yes. Title of the last section today is graph and equation using slope and y-intercept. In this section, we'll graph an equation on an xy axis using the slope and y-intercept. First equation, y equals 2x plus 4. From this equation, since it's in y equals mx plus b form, we can find out what m equals and find out what b equals. M equals the number in front of x, which is 2. And we can also make this a fraction 2 over 1. And b equals the last number, which is 4. Once you have the slope m and b the y-intercept, we can graph the equation on an xy axis. Our biggest number is 4, but we'll be going 2 spots, so we'll put 6 in each direction. When graphing, we'll start with the b or the y-intercept. B equals 4 or the y-intercept equals 4. So on the y-axis, which is the vertical axis, we'll start at positive 4, which would be 4 spots up. From this point, the slope is 2 over 1. If you remember, slope is rise over run, so we'll go 2 spots up and 1 spot to the right. 2 spots up and 1 spot to the right. We'll have a second point. And when we have 2 points, we can connect them to get the line for the graph. Second question and second equation. Last equation for the section. Y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 1. Graphing again, we can find the slope, which is m, and b, which is the y-intercept. M equals the number in front of x, which is negative 3 over 2, and b's last number, which is negative 1. Once we have the slope and y-intercept, then we can graph. We'll be starting at negative 1 and be going down 3 spots, so we can go 4 spots in each direction. Always start with the b or the y-intercept is negative 1, crosses the y-axis at negative 1. And the slope is negative 3 over 2, so we'll go down 3 spots and 2 spots to the right. 3 spots down and 2 spots to the right. We'll have the second point. And again, when you have 2 points, we can connect them to make the line for the equation. Title of the first section is find the x and y intercepts. In this section, we'll find the x and y intercepts for an equation. If you remember from previous sections, the y-intercept, when solving an equation, the y-intercept, x will be 0, and likewise the x-intercept. Every x-intercept, the y value would be 0. So we'll take the opposite letter and set that equal to 0 to find both of the intercepts. First equation is x plus 2y equals 18. To find the y-intercept again, we can put a 0 for the x value. So 0 plus 2y equals 18. 0 plus 2y would be 2y equals 18. And solving for y, we can divide by 2. So y equals 9. So the y-intercept, where the graph crosses the y-axis, would be 9. Second part of the problem, we'll find the x-intercept. Going back to the original equation, but this time we'll put a 0 for the y value. So we'll have x plus 2 times y, or 2 times 0, equals 18. Solving, 2 times 0 would be 0, and x plus 0 would be x. So we'll have our second answer, x equals 18. So the two intercepts, the y-intercept is 9, and the x-intercept is 18. Second question, and last question for the section. Equation is negative 5x plus y equals 30. Again, plugging zeros in, we can put a 0 for x, which would be negative 5 times 0 plus y equals 30. Negative 5 times 0 would be 0. And if we add y to that, it would just be y. So y equals 30 would be the y-intercept. Second part of the problem, go back to the original equation, and this time we'll put a 0 for the y value. So we'll have negative 5x plus 0 equals 30. 0 again, we can cross off or ignore. So we'll have negative 5x equals 30. Solving, we can divide by negative 5. So x equals 30 divided by negative 5 would be negative 6. So our two intercepts, x-intercept is negative 6, and the y-intercept is 30. Title of the last section today is Graph. Using x and y intercepts. In this section we'll graph, and we'll use the x and y intercepts like we found in the previous section. First equation is 2x plus 3y equals 12. First, to find the intercepts again, we can replace one of the variables with a 0. If we do x first, that would be 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 12. 2 times 0 again would be 0, we can cross off. So we'll have 3y equals 12, and dividing both sides by 3, we'll have y equals 4. So the y-intercept would be 4. Solving for the x-intercept, we'll go back to the original equation, but instead of a 0 for x, this time we'll put a 0 for y. So we'll have 2x plus 3 times 0 equals 12. 3 times 0 would be 0. So we'll have 2x equals 12. Dividing both sides by 2. And x equals 6. So the two intercepts, we have a x-intercept at 6 and y-intercept of 4. Graphing from here, we can draw the xy axis. Looking at the numbers, the biggest number is 6, so we can go 6 spots in each direction. To graph the y-intercept, y equals 4, the y-axis in the middle of the graph will cross at positive 4, so we can put a point at y equals 4. And also the x-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis, the horizontal axis is at 6, so we'll go over to 6 and put a point at x equals 6. Once we have these 2 points, we can connect them, and that would be the line for the equation. Second equation and last equation for this section is negative 4x plus y equals 8. Solving this again, we can plug zeros in. If we plug a 0 for x first, we'll have negative 4 times 0 plus y equals 8. Negative 4 times 0 would be 0. So we'll be left with y equals 8. Solving the same equation again, but we'll put a 0 for y. We'll have negative 4x plus 0 equals 8. Negative 4x plus 0 will be negative 4x equals 8. Dividing by negative 4, and we'll have x equals 8 divided by negative 4 would be negative 2. So we'll have two intercepts. The x-intercept is at negative 2 and the y-intercept is at 8. Graphing from here, we can draw the xy axis. The biggest number we have is 8. So we can go 8 in each direction. Graphing the intercepts, y equals 8. The line will cross the y-axis at positive 8. And the x-intercept is at negative 2, so the x-axis will put a point at negative 2. Using these 2 points, we can connect them, and that would be the graph for the equation.